Hello, folks. We're back again. We've got two cases we're going to talk about. Certainly the first one, we want to give you an update on the details we know about the officer-involved shooting last night. Now, our crime scene work is not yet complete, and the caveat today is much like it was last night. Some of these details are subject to change because, once again, we're talking to you now still within a few hours of the shooting, and there's a lot of crime scene investigation that's not been completed. But we pretty well have a grip on the basics. So let me point out what we started, where we were last night and what we know today. The task force members found Francis Perry driving the vehicle on Cumbie Road. They knew he was a violent felon without a driver's license and a history of resisting arrest and fleeing to elude. We suspected that he may have dope. So the decision by the supervisor was, hey, it's afternoon drive time traffic. Let's follow this guy until he stops someplace, because if we light him up, certainly he's going to flee and we're going to have a dangerous situation for the community. So they follow old Francis, and he pulls into 2737 Gulfview Street in Lakeland. 3 detectives exit the vehicle after they park behind him and turn their lights on. One detective goes to the passenger side of the vehicle, one goes to the driver's side of the vehicle, and the third detective goes in front of the vehicle to take down a guy by the name of William Clue. William, as Francis is arriving in the car, William is walking down the driveway toward him. So our one detective is now in front of the car, and William's on the ground. As William said later, I did what they told me. I got down on the ground. The detectives immediately tell him, let me see your hands, roll down the windows, open the doors, because the windows on the side of the vehicle are very, very dark, and they can just barely see in. Our detective in front of the car says he continues to do everything from show his hands to go down to the right side of his body. So he says this is over and over and over. William Clue, who turns out to be a pretty darn good witness for us, says in his estimation it was a minute to a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, that the detectives kept saying, roll down the windows, open the door, roll down the windows, open the door, show us your hands, show us your hands. The only detective that has a good view into the vehicle is the one in the front. And he says the guy alternately shows his hands and then goes down by his body. The detective on the passenger side of the vehicle retreats back to get what we call a hooligan tool out of the patrol vehicle in order to knock the windows, the side windshield, out of the vehicle. So as he's coming back with the hooligan tool, just as he prepares to hit the window to shatter the passenger side window, Clue goes back down to his right-hand side, comes up with what we know now as a 9mm Glock that's stolen, and begins to shoot at not only the detective with a hooligan tool, but a fourth detective who's arrived. So Francis Perry is shooting at 2 of the detectives, and of course they retreat, get a tactical stance, and immediately start shooting into the vehicle at Perry. We shot approximately 28 times before Perry quit the gunfight. We know that Perry shot at least 5 times at us. And quite frankly, I'm not sure how he missed the 2 detectives on the right side of the car. We see at least 2 outgoing projectiles that struck some part of the passenger side. We suspect the other 3 went out through the broken window and are who knows where they are at this time. That crime scene search is still on. As soon as the fight is over and Perry quits shooting at us, we quit shooting at him. Detectives immediately pull him out of the car, have him down on the ground, and begin CPR and life-saving measures, calling EMS and fire rescue to help. It's important to understand these detectives from a high-intensity drug trafficking area, experienced detectives, were in a gunfight for their life last night, and they won. It was an incredibly dangerous situation. EMS arrives, they take him to the hospital. He undergoes emergency surgery, but quite frankly, there's no way to save Perry because he's full of holes. We shot him at least 5 times, maybe more. We'll have a better idea once the autopsy is completed today. The emergency room surgeons gave us an estimate of how many times he was shot. Just for clarity's sake here, this is not what you watch on television. On television you shoot 1 time, the guy goes down, he gives up. We know when Perry started shooting, he had the gun sideways when he started the fight, and he shot at us at least 5 times, and we shot at him. 4 detectives shot a total of 28 times in a matter of seconds before the gunfight was over. So now the gunfight's over. Let's tell you what we found in the vehicle. First off, we obviously found the suspect's 9mm Glock firearm that is stolen out of Pasco County. That investigation's ongoing. It had 1 live round in the chamber, and the magazine otherwise was empty. We found 2 bags of methamphetamine laying in plain view on the back seat of the car, about 6.5 ounces, probably about $4,500 street value. We found when we pulled Perry out of the car that he had a nylon holster on his right side. He had the gun holstered and on him, and that's why when he went from hands up to the right side, he was going to the gun. Perry never, ever, ever communicated or said a word to us. He never made any effort to comply. All he had to do was comply. Just do what the detectives asked him to do. Well, let's talk about the choices he made yesterday. We didn't choose to shoot Francis Perry. He chose for us to shoot him, and we accommodated him. Here's what he knew, some of which we knew. He was driving yesterday afternoon without a driver's license. He was in possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He was possessing a stolen firearm. He was in possession of a trafficking amount of methamphetamine, which he didn't even try to hide in the car. It was in plastic baggies, just laying on the back seat. He was a fugitive from justice. He had an outstanding felony warrant with 2 felony charges. He's been out of prison only 5.5 months. His fugitive from justice, his outstanding VOP felony warrants were from not complying. Now, you would think a guy that just got out of prison 5.5 months ago wouldn't be ready to go back to prison, would go along with what his probation officer said, but he didn't, and the warrants were outstanding. Francis Perry is a documented, pedigreed thug, and he has been his entire adult life. But let's talk about his first criminal charge when he was 10 years of age. The Winter Haven Police Department charged him with shoplifting. He was charged with his first weapons offense when he was 11 years old. He had an incredible juvenile arrest record where he was provided with programs and opportunities, but he ignored all that. When you look at his criminal arrest history, there's what you see. There's the guy that chose to shoot it out with the detectives last night. He's a bad man. And today he's a dead man. And he chose that. We can only surmise, ladies and gentlemen. We can only surmise, ladies and gentlemen, that this guy decided that he wanted to end his life here, that this was really a suicide by cop. He knew he was surrounded by a lot of law enforcement officers, and he knew that to shoot at 1 or 2 of them was certainly going to result in him being shot. And he knew with him there with 1 gun and at least 4 of them there that it was to be certain death. He chose this. He chose every bit of it. He was in total control, and all he had to do was comply, and nothing like this would have happened. I submit to you that these detectives went over and above to keep from having to use a firearm against him to take control of him. But it was his choice. When you live a life like this, then you're the one that decides your fate. And he decided his fate when he lived this life. Are there any questions about that? We also have the chiefs here. They said what they had to say last night, but we're here to answer any questions if you have that.
What's the biggest fear for deputies, career criminals who will do whatever it takes to avoid prison?
Yeah, it is. Let me show you one more thing about this. I hear over and over and over. You know, I watch on the national news. Well, we got this tough criminal justice system. Do you think our criminal justice system is forgiving? This guy had chance after chance after chance after chance. He went to prison on 3 different occasions, not for a long period of time. But this is the kind of people we're dealing with in the street. It's not you and I. It's not what I call normal America. It's criminal America. And you either hold them accountable or they overrun your community. But don't tell me he wasn't given a chance, ever. Yes, ma'am.
Has he died yet? He's still alive?
He died this morning about 6:30 at Lakeland Regional Medical Center. They told us last night they didn't see any way that he could survive the significant wounds that he had, but We all did everything we could to keep him alive. And the hospital did a remarkable work all through the night trying to save his life.
Did all those bullets hit him?
No, only we don't know an exact number, but we know there's at least 5, maybe 6 that struck him.
Were there any bystanders in the area or people who?
The one guy who walked down the driveway, who had a misdemeanor warrant outstanding for him, was totally cooperative, went, hey, I didn't want any part of that. Y'all told me to get on the ground. I got on the ground. He's alive and well, and by the way, a wonderful witness today with what he saw from the ground looking up and listening. We had another witness down the street that came out of his house that I believe talked to the news media last night and also talked to us and said, we heard the deputies telling them over and over and over, roll down the window, show us your hands, open the door.
So he said Clue had warrants? Is
He had,
now?
yes, he's under arrest for failure to appear, and he was very cooperative with us. But folks, here's what it all amounts to, and this is a classic case. All he had to do was comply. In our minds, we'll never be able to ask him, but he intended to die suicide by cop. We're absolutely sure of that.
Sheriff, that deputy who was in the front of the car, it seems like it was a very vulnerable position. Did that go as planned?
Ultimately, we didn't plan on a shootout. It's not uncommon. This is the things that don't make the news and you don't see. It's not uncommon for people to sit in their car and ignore us, not to talk to us, not to engage with us, not to say, no, I'm not rolling down my window, just to ignore the fact that we're there. He kept going down to his right side. We didn't see a gun. We didn't think by him ignoring us, he's doing the hand motions. We didn't think there was going to be a gunfight. We were prepared for a gunfight. But the detective in the front of the vehicle, when it erupted like it did, the good Lord was looking out for him. Tactically, we don't ever want to get in crossfires. He was potentially in a crossfire situation, but he stood his ground and shot through the front windshield of the vehicle in order to protect and save the lives of the detectives that were on the passenger side. It was a tough situation that didn't have to happen and shouldn't have happened. But once again, we don't choose to shoot people. They choose for us to shoot them. Compliance is a beautiful thing. All they have to do is comply. If they disagree with it, we'll work it out later. Okay, any other questions on this?
Is there a standard procedure to get for some sort of review of the shooting?
Yes, we went through that last night, but there'll be an investigation, a shooting investigation by our homicide team. In addition to that, the state attorney's office was called to the scene. They'll do an independent and separate investigation. The medical examiner now would do an investigation. Our administrative investigations would do another investigation. Our narcotics team will complete the narcotics investigation that they started against him as well. When we finish our packages and put them all together, then we will send them to the chiefs of the 3 departments, and then they will follow their agency policies as far as investigating as well. And for those of you who weren't here last night, this was the height of high-intensity drug trafficking group, okay? And here's how it works. We had representatives from Lake Wales, Haines City, Winter Haven, and the Sheriff's Office on this team. All 4 of the agencies shot, okay? They are obviously very experienced, very trained police officers, as are our detectives. They were operating last night under the authority of the sheriff. They are sworn in as deputy sheriffs to be a part of the task force. So not only are they stellar examples of the different police departments, but their authority last night came from the sheriff because of their height of task force duties and responsibilities.
How many officers total then on paid leave or on?
4. Which is normal, routine. We have a set, professional, standard protocol, state-of-the-art protocol that these deputies, or deputy and officers will go through.
Can you tell us what agencies the 4 representing?
Haines City, Lake,
So each of the,
it was Haines City, Lake Wales, Winter Haven, and the Sheriff's Office.
so 1 from each.
1 from each. Right. They do undercover work, and on this particular case, they were focused on him. He was a bad dude in the community. Bad meaning past tense.